Forbearance and late payments and forbearance. What does that mean, and what does that affect? Language is always harder for me. And how does that affect you as a note investor?
He's totally full of it. He chats like all the time. You can't get him to shut up.
That's what we're talking about today. And it's a current event topic, but it's also a topic that can stick around forever because, late payments is something that note investors, you're inevitably going to have to deal with. Forbearance is one of those things that's kind of more topical 2020. But in the next 3 to 6 to 9 months, these are all major points of conversation.
Yes, especially with forbearance. That started way back in March, where people were allowed to stop making their mortgage payments. That is now, the offers continued all the way till the end of the year, which tells us there are going to be people that come out starting January 2021 that haven't made a mortgage payment in 9 months.
Mm-hmm. Which, before we get to that, just want a quick shout. I see Matt and I see Crystal watching on LinkedIn. So Thank you so much. This is a live show. It's going to be relevant for people to watch evergreenness for the future. But at the same time, if you're watching live, let us know so we can say hello.
And if you have questions or a comment, that's,
You're so excited.
I know.
In a comment.
If you have a comment about anything.
So what is forbearance?
So forbearance is where your lender tells you that you don't have to make mortgage payments while maybe you're having problems finding a job, or maybe you've had to take a pay cut and things are just tight.
Maybe there's a hurricane, maybe there's a pandemic.
Right.
Maybe there's forest fires,
so
natural disasters.
Right now we've got a lot of people in forbearance.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of people who came out of forbearance, so after quarantine was over, they went back to work.
Right.
And they came out. But we've got a lot more, and people are asking for it now more as well.
So, real quick though, forbearance is not the other F word of forgiveness.
No, and that's the scary thing. So if you don't pay your mortgage for 9 months, you've got 9 months of mortgage payments all of a sudden due.
Do you also have interest?
You've got interest and, yes.
Insurance, taxes. So basically, you've just pushed the buck down the road.
Right. And you're not going to be able to get out of your insurance payment. You're not going to be able to get out of your tax payments. But it is, it's a little scary thinking about it. So what happened back in 2008, which a lot of us who were picking up short sales or subject to remember,
mm-hmm.
people were promised, don't make your mortgage payment and we'll modify it, or we'll refinance you at the end. That didn't happen for a lot of people because all of a sudden their credit was too bad.
Right.
And they weren't making payments on other things, and they still didn't have a job.
Well, you still hear, maybe not so much now because it's been 12 years, but I remember hearing for the past 10 years the horror stories of, I was a successful real estate investor. I was making my payments, but because of all these people that weren't making payments, all these other people that were on forbearance, the banks called the note due on me because they just knew that I would find a way to pay them back.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're damned if you do, but if you don't, well, then you're damned eventually.
Well, the sad thing is there's a lot of people who took forbearance going, all right, maybe we should just conserve as much cash as we possibly can to see what happens down the road. And then they get there and,
mm-hmm.
They haven't saved enough
to
pay that off.
Late payments, forbearance, like when we talk about late payments in this context, are we talking about just being late on the payment itself? Or are we also talking about added interest? Are we talking about added fees? What are we talking about?
So remember, only the federally insured mortgages, for the most part, were allowed forbearance.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got all the other regular commercial regular mortgages, private mortgages, who didn't offer forbearance. Well, they've got default rates now that are 90, 120.
Mm-hmm. And because we're in an election cycle, a lot of that is either suppressed or hyperbolic, depending on which candidate or which party you're following.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I mean, as the default raises. But the even scarier thing, so what this is doing, where you have all these defaults and all these people in forbearance, it is now tightening the credit market,
Mm-hmm.
because people always think, oh, the Fed determines what the interest rates are. Well, actually, the credit market is driven more on mortgage-backed securities,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how many people are purchasing mortgage-backed securities? What is the demand for it? Well, right now, if they're not getting their payments because of all the people in forbearance or all the people who are defaulting, do they really want to go buy more mortgage-backed securities? And so then it constricts the mortgage credit.
As an investor, as a note investor, what can we be doing to either be prepared or take advantage, or just batten down the houses or hatches so we don't get taken out?
Right. So I've been talking, calling up as many note investors as I can find, going, what are you all seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Who's got? I mean, there's no tapes out there. Last January, before all this started, I was getting 1,000 a week, of non-performing notes. Where did those all go?
Right.
I have to imagine they're still there.
There's something.
I got 8 yesterday. 8.
Well, we've been talking about that for like 3 months now. Of we know for a fact that there's a ton of junk on the books. Just, and by junk I mean non-performing, like 30-day, 90-day, 120-day. Just ever since Corona started, people have stopped paying bills.
Right.
Therefore, where is it? Where are those tapes? Where are those notes? Because there's some sort of influx to of capital into these banks to keep them afloat. Because if there wasn't, they would be dumping this stuff 3-6 months ago.
Yeah, and depending on what market you're in,
yeah,
it's more severe. So I read on, Mortgage-Backed Securities Daily, since I get their newsletter.
Yeah,
it's a scorcher to read every morning.
Sounds like
it's really awesome. But I read yesterday.
It's like Vogue or MBS Daily.
So I read yesterday that over 27% of federally backed mortgages are in default in the state of New York.
How many?
Over 27% in the state of New York.
That's a lot.
And that's just the federally backed ones. They say that the defaults for the conventional mortgages are less, but that's how many are in default.
So when you hear things like, oh, by the way, this city over here is falling apart, again, going through the lens of which news broadcast, which YouTuber are you watching, and which political party bubble are you in, if you couple that with, hey, 7% is crap in default, it's like, oh, maybe
that's a lot. Now, that's not of all mortgages out there. That's only
just the federally backed.
It's the federally backed mortgages, the ones that are guaranteed.
But that's still a lot.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, FHA mortgages. You've heard of FHA, right?
Yeah.
What's FHA for?
Farmers Homes Association.
First-time home buyers, right? It's for brand new people to get them out of the market, the rental market, and turn them into homeowners.
Yeah.
What did we used to call that pre-08?
Starter homes?
No, we used to call it subprime mortgages.
Oh.
So our FHA right now, because they completely loosened.
That's why you don't ask me questions.
I know. Well, I know. I sent him his homework. He just doesn't want to read Mortgage-Backed Securities Daily. No.
Hi, here's an article like 10 minutes.
Here's an article with like 10 graphs that you need to understand before we talk.
I'll link it below the article.
Now, the scary thing with the FHA mortgages, because they have completely loosened all of their requirements. So again, like in the last 4 or 5 years. So we're not seeing like the major arms where it's going to be like all of a sudden, in 2007, all of these things reset. But what we are seeing is no down payments, or 3% down, and they roll in their closing costs. So effectively, they're getting into it for a rental deposit.
So from an investment standpoint, what I'm hearing is if you can get a hold of these non-performing notes, there's potential for some pretty good loan mods.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because if a lot of these people came in with like all these relaxed situations, well, they probably had I don't want to say a subprime, but they're probably getting their butt kicked right now with
Right.
whatever terms they're at. If you can come in with a loan mod and say, look, we want to keep you in the
You're-
home, but XYZ.
They were, this is, and I didn't realize that this was going on until I read it. FHA relaxed it to sub 550 credit scores. I'm
Hear
not
that,
even.
Sekou?
I'm not
Me
even.
and you can buy houses,
I'm
buddy.
not even
Woo!
really buying. I'm not even buying notes right now. It's hard for me to buy a note right now, a performing mortgage note with a sub 600 credit score, and these people were buying.
What do you mean
for
by
less-
these people?
Well, FHA buyers.
Okay.
I'm like, all these people have been buying mortgages with a lot of sub 550 credit scores, and that's pretty low.
Yeah. It was just crazy that
A
How-
decade later, we're back where we
Yeah.
were at.
well, you always hear is like history repeats itself. History repeats itself. You need to study history, and in this context, the reason you should study history is because, well, look at the people that made money in '08 and just repeat what they did or mimic what they did.
Yes.
I mean, not necessarily the people that shorted everything, but I'm just saying there was a lot of people that stayed afloat.
the difference with '08 is that one for me. I mean, I still remember the night, right? It was second week in August of '08, and I woke up in the middle of a panic going, oh my god, I'm really screwed, right? I'm in trouble if I don't figure my way out of this right now. But when you fast forward to now, we've just been kind of cooling our jet. Like, we're just all in limbo
Right.
since March. And I mean, that's what all the notes investors are saying. They're like, hey, we've been seeing, one, there's no supply. Where are all the non-performing notes? Where'd they go? And if they do come out, they're ridiculously high prices.
Well, if you went and bought a investing in notes education audiobook series or book
Right.
series, whatever, the first thing you talk to you is about, hey, how do you get a tape from a bank? A tape being a fancy word for a spreadsheet. And on that tape, you're going to get thousands and thousands of lines of houses that you can try to pick out. You can cherry pick the ones you want, ideally. Well, earlier you said 8.
That's what I got yesterday.
8 versus thousands is a big difference.
In January, I was getting 1,000 a week.
Yeah.
And fast forward, we go through, and we know that there is a surplus of this stuff on the books.
Let's break that down. In January, getting 1,000 a week, which in January was we're in a good economy. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. So if the normal, and again, we're using anecdotal data because just what your experience.
Right.
If in January you're getting 1,000 a week, and that's just when the economy is okay, when fast forward 2020 year of everybody knows what happened in 2020. Well, it's still 2020, but whatever. Everybody knows what's been going on all year long. Logic would dictate you would see 10,000 a week right now.
Right. And that's why
And you're getting 8.
Nobody understands this. It's like everybody's holding on to everything, and I
It's
don't
the election.
get
It's
it.
the election.
I
It's
know.
gotta be the election.
I think it's the election too.
I think
we get through that.
I think the first week of December, I think the floodgates, it doesn't matter who wins. I think the floodgates are going to be like, oh, game on, back to, because right now it's that time of uncertainty. Everybody's uncertain. And then once you know who's going to be the president coming up, it's still going to be uncertain, but at least you have predictions. You can make predictive choices based on that.
Right. So, but, when we're talking about forbearance and late payments and the credit market tightening up, and that started last month, and it tightened up to a level that we hadn't seen since 2014, where there's just an absence of credit, which, not to be, the sky is falling, but when you have an absence of credit, look it up. When you have an absence of credit, that was what made the Great Depression so awful, was that people just couldn't go borrow money.
There's gotta be, I'm gonna say something real stupid. There's gotta be smart people in the right places that know this and study history and know the things that you just said and are 1,000 times smarter than you in a power position that should be able to counterbalance all these things, right?
I believe so. That's called the Fed.
It's called hope.
Yeah. Well,
Faith and prayer.
I have faith in the Fed that because they just kept saying, hey, we can
Hashtag
print
faith in the Fed.
Faith in the Fed. Yeah. I do. I mean, you're talking. I mean, the Fed is not the federal government, right?
Right.
It's a group of guys who are brilliant economists, mathematicians. They, Alan Greenspan. I've read almost everything that I can get my hands on from that guy, and he studied the Great Depression. That's what he did.
Yeah, but he got a lot of shit.
His thesis on. Oh my gosh, yes. But they did keep us off the precipice in 2008. And they seem to, right now, everything seems to be, it's artificially stimulated by the Fed. The question is, when they stop pumping air into it, is it just going to deflate?
Okay. So if they stop pumping air, as an investor, what do you do?
Well,
are you a prepper? And do you have a bunker that you've stocked up with food and ginger ale?
Basically, I still think we're going to see something similar to '08. On steroids. I do. We'll have a flooding of the market early January, February, March.
And this is why you need to like and subscribe to the channel, because even in depression, YouTube still reigns. And if we can make money on YouTube, we'll survive.
Exactly. But no, seriously, if you come first quarter of 2021, if they don't kick the can down the road again and say no evictions, no foreclosures, for another 6 months, while until we get a vaccine. Okay, well then obviously we've got about a year until stuff starts shaking out. But I have to imagine that once evictions start and once foreclosures really are up and going in every state and every county, you're just flooding the market.
Right. J. Lee Thompson, hello.
J. Lee.
Fellow Miss Real Estate Diva, every Friday on their YouTube channel at 12 o'clock. Subtle plug. Jason Toledo is watching on the LinkedIn. Thank you, sir, for tuning in. Anybody else watching, say hi. Where are you watching
Jason
from?
Toledo has shocked faces over this. Again, no, I was kind of shocked to find out that the credit market was tightening up. Yeah. And surprised but not surprised. I was expecting it a little bit further down the road when we have foreclosures and evictions back. And for all the real estate investors out there, is this a bad thing? Not necessarily.
Well, there's that. If you're a real estate investor, you should be able to make money in any economy, in any variation, whether we're going up, going down, going side to side. You just need to pivot. And I know that's a sexy $3 word. You gotta pivot.
Hello, Fernando.
What up? But this is so true, especially in right now when your pivot maybe need to be a little bit harsher than a typical year. But when we're talking about what we're talking about with the forbearance and everything, and how in the shits we really are.
Well, if the credit market tightens up, that means that it's harder for people to get mortgages. Which would tell me logically, hey, maybe I don't want to necessarily have to sell retail. Maybe I'm working on a rehab right now, and you should start thinking about maybe having long-term financing on that, getting that in place
for a rental,
for either a rental or a wrap, and owner financing it with a wrap. Either of those would be a really good play. Come Q1, when all of this stuff starts dumping on the market, if you're a real estate investor, be prepared to pick up subject to properties. There's going to be a ton of foreclosures on the market. Be prepared to start picking those up, rehabbing them. Again, I made more money after the market collapsed than I had the 3.5 years before.
Some of the biggest real estate investors I know right now, they made their money because they got into real estate in 2009. And they didn't have to weather the storm. And even though you may have a badge of honor like you do for surviving the crash, at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about your badge of honor except yourself. Everybody else only cares about how much money you got. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, if I survive XYZ, but I can provide 1, 2, 3, all you care about is the 1, 2, 3. You don't really care about the XYZ.
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. It does. Because, and really, I mean, real estate investors and note investors should be excited right now.
Yeah.
Because we all know what's coming. And, you know, yeah, it might be a Christmas present, because you're right. I think the election goes through, then we know who's going to be controlling the White House,
So,
who's going to be controlling
in terms of
Congress.
getting prepared, is it just a matter of hoarding cash,
Yes.
collecting cash, identifying money partners for future capital partners, and just getting as big of a piggy bank as possible ready for when this stuff kicks off?
Yes, you should be out there networking, trying to get, you know, and I know it's
with a
hard,
mask.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You know, but we've got the event.
Oh, yeah.
You got the event on the 27th.
Yeah, so if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, or Texas, or want to fly in, we're having an event with Donovan Ruffin at the Virgin Hotel. We have quite a few people signed up. We're booking out the entire.
Obnoxious.
It would be obnoxious even if there wasn't a pandemic, but I'm sure I'll get a lot of shit. Basically, we have like 1,050 signed up right now.
Not all those people will come.
Not all those people will come, but probably at least 300 to 400 will be there. I'm expecting anywhere from 300 to 600 at the event. But we got the full fourth floor. We've got a few cool speakers that are going to be speaking.
And it's a lot outside.
Well, half of it's outside.
Yeah.
So if you are worried about like the pandemic, wear a mask. We'll have masks on site as well. We'll have the whole hand sanitizer on site. But ultimately, it's time to get out there and network again. If you're worried, it's fine. Don't come. It's okay. You're not. It's okay. No one's gonna shame you for not coming.
Right.
But if you're ready to get back out there and do some deals and network, come on out.
So and networking will be key. So if you are looking for money partners, get those money partners signed up. Get as much cash as you can. I mean, wholesale. People are still buying real estate.
Yeah.
So and it's active right now, and that's not. We might take a week or two pause when all of us, because I expect it to be a dump. And we will feel it. I expect it to feel like '08, where all of a sudden I woke up in a cold sweat realizing how screwed I was. Whereas what's going on here where I'm like, well, gosh, I'm not doing too badly. Am I missing something?
The biggest piece of advice I'll give for election night, though, is don't trade currencies.
Did you do that last time?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm making money. I went from making 50 grand to losing 10 grand in like a 4-minute spread. I was like, I'm making 10 grand or 50 grand. I mean, it was that, because you know, with Forex trading, it's highly leveraged. So you're like, yeah. So it's like way up here. And I'm like, man, I'm going to make 100 grand in one night. And of course, if you know me and you know my how I deal
gamble.
Yeah. I'm going for, I need more. I mean, I go for digits. I don't go for numbers.
Again.
I know. Again.
Remember.
It just went the other way and I lost everything. So therefore, when it comes to that.
And the lesson from that is bird in the hand.
I don't know the expression. Maybe that's
bird in the hand. I mean, you make.
Two in the bush.
You're looking at 50 grand. You should have gone sell.
I know. Or buy, whatever. Or, I can't remember what position I was in, but yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. So no, so where do I see us going? Credit markets are already tightening up. That means less people are getting mortgages.
Yeah.
More people are in forbearance and are in default right now. In San Francisco, New York, Las Vegas is not good. Mm-hmm. Where you've got double digits. You're talking 20%.
What about
in default?
And this is kind of off topic, but it's on topic-ish. You've got places like California or LA or New York where it's not only the economic issues, but then you have political issues that then you have this mass exodus of people. Are those investment opportunities, or is that kind of like, well, maybe I should let it retract a little bit?
So, and let's just bring up New York.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. They're not fully opened yet.
Yeah.
They're not doing foreclosures.
They're not having events.
They're not doing really anything yet, right? Not to mention, they've always been a hard state to foreclose on anyway. So if you're looking at picking up a non-performing note, you shouldn't spend very much in that state, if anything, because it might be a year or 18 months before you could actually take that property back. And that's from today. Honestly, you could see 3 years to take properties back then.
I think another way of looking at it is when you're investing in real estate, you're not a wildcat oil investor. You shouldn't be investing on
Right.
speculation. You should be investing on what does the dollar say at that moment in time. If I buy it here, what can I get for it today? And if it does go up with appreciation, great. But I'm not going to put all my birds in the basket for that appreciation.
Right. And I have
Because
never,
that's speculation.
That's speculation. I have never invested
Well, you should.
on speculation. And don't do that, because I mean, I've been involved in properties here in Dallas that were worth, at different times less than what they were worth when the property was built in the 80s. So that one's a hard one. But I mean, going back to New York, and there were some major cities mentioned, but New York was one that was really interesting with non-performing notes. They always, I always get the question in the group, well, how is it that these people have not paid a mortgage in like 5, 7, 10 years? In January before COVID was something like 20-25% of the ones already in default hadn't made a mortgage payment in 5 years.
And
that's in New York.
And they're just in places where the legal system is so much on their side that it's next to impossible to get them out.
Yeah.
Or because they have a Nancy working.
Especially if you're in the 5 boroughs, I've heard that it is almost impossible to just get a court date. Yeah. And how do you get these people out of the house? And they probably, and at this point, after they haven't paid for 5 years, they pretty much know.
So to summarize our conversation is there's something coming. We don't know what it is. We have an idea of what it is. The best way to be prepared is hoard cash, get your money in line, and be ready for post-election to gobble up everything.
Right.
Do you have a predictive rate at what they should be getting at?
For non-performing notes?
Yeah. 50%?
Well, 60%, I think no.
80%,
I mean, nobody's touching anything at 50 or 60% right now.
I would say for selling.
Right, for selling. I would say we're probably going to be somewhere around 40% of unpaid principal balance.
And that's crazy to me because, and this is that conversation we have all summer long about how the banks currently are sticking to their guns at that 80-85%.
Yeah.
It's like you could be getting off the books now, but instead you're going to wait, and then you're screwed, and then you have to go for that 40. I
mean, that's my prediction, that it'll have to sell somewhere 40, maybe 45. But yeah, when the banks want 80 to 85, I think what they're banking on is the amount of equity that's in everybody's properties right now.
Yeah, but if nobody can buy it, nobody can buy it.
Well, but still, you're talking about, let's say that something as your unpaid principal balance is at 50% of what the value of the property is coming in and paying 80 cents on the dollar a bad deal for you. Not necessarily. I mean, that's pretty great, unless all of a sudden the election happens, January 1 hits, foreclosures flood the market, and then all of a sudden that, 50% loan to value becomes 70% loan to value. Again.
And then half America turns into like one of those crazy scenes from Apocalypse or like Walking Dead where everything's in cardboard and wood shingles, all that stuff.
These are just kind of the things you're watching. If you're curious out there wanting to see how things get, go look up the credit availability index, mortgage credit availability index, the MCAI, and that will tell you, any time that's decreasing, it means that it's tightening and there's less credit available for people to buy, which means all of you out there flipping, if all of a sudden you're putting your flip on there in January, you might have a problem finding somebody with good enough credit, because when credit tightens, that means they're not taking 550s, they're not taking 600s. They want a 650 credit score or a 700 credit score, and they want 10-20% down, no exceptions.
The good news is everything is cyclical, and whatever chaos we may or may not have in the next year or two, in 2 to 3 years, everybody will forget it anyway. It's all good.
I didn't believe people when they said that about 2008. I'm like, no way will people not remember this. 10 years later, nobody remembers it.
9/11.
And we're back at, yeah, that's true. And we're back at our old stuff.
Yeah. People don't, I mean.
People just have a short memory for this on what the pain was and all of that.
Anyway, well.
So get ready for subject twos.
Sky
Get ready
is falling.
for owner finance.
Yeah.
Get ready for those non-performing notes that will have to come out at better prices.
And if people want to know more,
you can.
I couldn't figure out a way to like.
People want to know more.
I know. So you got the passingnotesgroup.com.
Yes, passingnotesgroup.com, and we've got a ton of stuff up there for videos now,
like
don't
20
we?
20 now, yeah.
20 different videos
Basically,
on how to do this.
So KRISTIN has a private group. It's the Note Group, aka passingnotesgroup.com, where twice a week she comes in here right after this show and does a live class on Zoom, but also recorded for perpetuity, a P word, longevity, forevers.
Forevers. Oh, you're talking about like filming it and then putting it up for everybody to be able to go back and say, how do I do that?
So we not only do we film educational courses, KRISTIN films educational courses, we do it in a way that it is also back and forth with the students of the group itself. So during the filming of it, they don't interact, they're on mute, but once we're done, or I say once KRISTIN's done, then we do an immediate Q&A with the people in the group. So it's like a best of both worlds where you actually get the presentation right then and there, but then you're able to ask questions right then and there, but then you can go back later and watch it again. So whether you sign up today or you sign up a year from now, you're able to see everything that's been done.
And all students get all non-performing notes tapes that I get across my desk.
8 of them.
All 8 of them that are coming to my guys today. I'm like, seriously, 8? That's how many I got?
But the biggest thing is access. You get access to KRISTIN and get all your questions asked and answered.
Which is not only limited to notes. I'm helping students with acquiring all sorts of stuff and then setting it up for long-term cash flow and wealth building.
So anyway, I'm Ryan Harper. You can find me at Ryan S. Harper on pretty much Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The S stands for Scott, not Sharper. I do a lot of production stuff. I also have the event. I do a lot of stuff with KRISTIN. But other than me being stupid on here, you really don't need to know who I am.
Oh, stop it. You have to listen to me talk all day.
That's true.
You're pretty smart now. And I'm KRISTIN GERST. Follow me on Instagram at KRISTIN GERST, or make sure and just follow the Passing Notes podcast on YouTube's. And then Real Estate Divas, where with my lovely co-host Jay Lee Thompson every Friday. Also follow, share our podcast on YouTube for that. Helps us out.
Cool. And thank you so much for everybody watching live. And then thank you so much for anybody watching when we're not live, because this will be saved forever on the YouTube world. Drop comments, drop questions, and we will answer all. Well, I say we. She'll answer all when she gets an opportunity. All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.